So the first section I want to go through here is the history and structure of OpenAI. So OpenAI's origins, I always recommend reading Genius Makers by Cade Metz. It's a great book that tells sort of the inside story of how it was founded. Also, Chamath Pala, I can never say Chamath's last name properly, Palahapitiya. He had a great tweet, and I'll put the link to that in the show notes, that sort of summarized in detail the timeline. And so I'll pull out a couple of excerpts from Chamath's tweet. And Chamath's on the All In podcast. If you don't listen to the All In podcast, brilliant marketer, business person, investor. So he said OpenAI was initially founded in 2015 by Sam Altman, which we obviously talked about, Elon Musk, Ilya Sutskever, who was key to this, and Greg Brockman, who was key to this. It was founded as a nonprofit organization with the stated goal to advance digital intelligence in the way that is most likely to benefit humanity as a whole. The company assembled a team of the top researchers in AI to pursue the goal of building AGI in a safe way. A crucial development occurred in June 2018, as Chamath's tweet goes on to say. The company released a paper titled Improving Language Understanding by Generative Pre-Training, which introduced the foundational architecture for the generative pre-trained transformer model. This later evolved into ChatGPT, the company's flagship product. Now, I don't think Chamath mentions this in his tweet. It was a pretty long tweet. But whatever OpenAI did in June 2018 built on what the Google Brain team did in June 2017 when they released the paper called Attention is All You Need that invented the transformer, which is the T in GPT. So generative pre-trained transformer actually originated from the Google Brain team. Okay. So then in April 9th, 2018 to be exact, OpenAI published the OpenAI Charter, defining the principles we use to execute on OpenAI's mission. I'll put the link to the charter in the show notes as well. From that charter, I will now read a few excerpts. This document reflects the strategy we've refined over the past 2 years, including feedback from many people, internal and external to OpenAI. The timeline to AGI remains uncertain, but our charter will guide us in acting in the best interests of humanity throughout its development. It goes on to say, OpenAI's mission is to ensure that AGI, artificial general intelligence, by which we mean highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work, benefits all of humanity. Again, I'm going to read that because this is extremely important to understand this concept for everything else that's happening. The mission is to ensure that AGI, by which we mean highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work, benefits all of humanity. We will attempt to directly build safe and beneficial AGI, but will also consider our mission fulfilled if our aid works others to achieve this outcome. So this is not about them making money. This is about the achievement of safe AGI, whoever does it. To that end, we commit to the following principles. They then outline 4 principles. I'll breeze through a couple of these things quickly. The first, broadly distributed benefits. We commit to use any influence we obtain over AGI's development to ensure it is used for the benefit of all and to avoid enabling uses of AI or AGI that harm humanity or unduly concentrate power. It goes on to say, and this is, I'm going to boldface this, it's boldfaced in my text, I'll tell it to you in boldface terms. Our primary fiduciary duty is to humanity. Fiduciary duty is the obligation of a party to act in another party's best interest. So above all else, the mission of the organization, the charter that the board governs, is the fiduciary duty to humanity. It has to be in the interest of humanity. They then have a section on long-term safety. It says we will work out specifics in a case-by-case agreements, but a typical triggering condition for the actions they would take would be a better than even chance of success of achieving AGI in the next 2 years. So they have a timeline to this. Then they get into technical leadership and cooperative orientation. So again, you can go read the charter. It's only probably like 400 words, but it's really important to understand this. So then a year later or so, in March of 2019, 3 years before the launch of GPT-4, OpenAI announced the formation of something called OpenAI LP. The blog post announcing this was authored by Ilya Sutskever and Greg Brockman. In that blog post, they say, we've created OpenAI LP, a new capped profit company that allows us to rapidly increase our investments in compute and talent while including checks and balances to actualize our mission. Our mission is to ensure AGI benefits all of humanity, primarily by attempting to build safe AGI and share the benefits with the world. Goes on to say, we have experienced firsthand that the most dramatic AI systems use the most computational power in addition to algorithmic innovations, and decided to scale much faster than we planned when starting OpenAI. We'll need to invest billions of dollars in upcoming years into large-scale cloud compute, attracting and retaining talented people, and building AI supercomputers. Okay, so again, March 2019, we're 4 years after the founding of OpenAI as a nonprofit. They are now launching a for-profit entity underneath that nonprofit because they believe they're going to need billions of dollars that they cannot raise just through donations to train the most advanced models. That post went on to say, we want to increase our ability to raise capital while still serving our mission, and no pre-existing legal structure we know of strikes the right balance. Our solution is to create OpenAI LP as a hybrid for a for-profit and nonprofit, which we are calling a capped profit company. The fundamental idea is that investors and employees can get a capped return if we succeed at our mission, which allows us to raise investment capital and attract employees within startup-like equity. But any returns beyond that amount, if we are successful, we expect to generate orders of magnitude more value than we owe to people who invest in or work at OpenAI, are owned by the original OpenAI nonprofit entity. So beyond some profit level, any other money they make goes back to the nonprofit and gets distributed to humans, basically. It said going forward in this post and elsewhere, OpenAI refers to the for-profit company, and the original entity is referred to as OpenAI nonprofit. So the OpenAI that you all know, that we have all known for the last 3+ years, is the for-profit entity, which is why most people don't even know the nonprofit's still involved. Then it goes on to say, and this is really, really critical to understanding what's happening. The mission comes first. We've designed OpenAI LP to put our overall mission, ensuring the creation and adoption of safe and beneficial AGI, ahead of generating returns for investors. OpenAI's LP's primary fiduciary obligation is to advance the aims of the OpenAI charter, and the company is controlled by OpenAI's nonprofit board. Again, the for-profit OpenAI that we all know is controlled by OpenAI's nonprofit board. All investors and employees they sign agreements that OpenAI LP's obligation to the charter always comes first, even at the expense of some or all of their financial stake. So that means employees who have stock options, investors who have invested in the company, they all sign an agreement that if there comes a point that the benefit of humanity is more important than the work they're doing, they accept that their value may go to zero for what they have. And then it says only a minority of board members are allowed to hold financial stakes in the partnership at one time. Furthermore, only board members without such stakes can vote on decisions where the interest of limited partners and OpenAI nonprofit's mission may conflict, including any decisions about making payouts to investors or employees. Finally, it says under safety, we are excited by the potential for AGI to help solve planetary scale problems in areas where humanity is failing, and there's no obvious solution today. However, we are also concerned about AGI's potential to cause rapid change, whether through machines pursuing goals misspecified by their operator malicious humans subverting deployed systems, or an out of control economy that grows without resulting in improvements to human lives. As described in our charter, we are willing to merge with a value aligned organization, even if it means reduced or zero payouts to investors, to avoid a competitive race, which would make it hard to prioritize safety. Now, if you think about that last section and you think about the rapid growth of OpenAI over the last 12 plus months, you can start to see where there's friction between what is happening and what the charter states. So then also from OpenAI on June 28th of this year, so June 28th, 2023, they published a blog post on their structure, an update to their structure. And I will again include this in the episode notes. So in this post, it says, we announced our capped profit structure in 2019, about 3 years after founding the original OpenAI nonprofit. Since the beginning, we have believed that powerful AI culminating in AGI, meaning a highly autonomous system that outperforms humans at most economically valuable work, has the potential to reshape reshape society and bring tremendous benefits along with risks that must be safely addressed. The increasing capabilities of present-day systems mean it's more important than ever for OpenAI and other AI companies to share the principles, economic mechanisms, and governance models that are core to our respective missions and operations. Now, keep in mind, June 2023, what was happening? The government was coming after these companies and looking at laws and regulations related to them. So they had to be proactive in reasserting that they're here for the benefit of humanity. So that this June 28th, 2023 post goes on to talk about the structure. So it says, we initially believed the 501c3 would be the most effective vehicle to direct the development of safe and broadly beneficial AGI while remaining unencumbered by profit incentives. We committed to publishing our research and data in cases where we felt it was safe to do so and would benefit the public. Now we have the shift. It became increasingly clear that donations alone would not scale with the cost of computational power and talent required to push course research forward, jeopardizing our mission. So we devised the structure to preserve our nonprofit's core mission, governance, and oversight while enabling us to raise the capital for our mission. So then they go into the structure in more detail. I'm going to call out a few key pieces of this. It says, because the board is still the board of a nonprofit, each director must perform their fiduciary responsibilities in furtherance of its mission, safe AGI that is broadly beneficial. While the for-profit subsidiary is permitted to make and distribute profit, it is subject to the mission. The nonprofit's principal beneficiary is humanity, not OpenAI investors. So again, you're hearing this over and over and over again. And this is why it's so critical to understand what's happening. They also said the board remains majority independent. Independent directors do not hold equity in OpenAI. Even OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, does not hold equity directly. His only interest is indirectly through a Y Combinator investment fund that made a small investment in OpenAI before he was full-time. So again, most people don't realize that Sam, as the CEO, doesn't hold direct equity in OpenAI. Fourth, profit, this is in their bullets. Fourth, profit allocated to investors and employees, including Microsoft, is capped. All residual value created above and beyond is returned to the nonprofit for the benefit of humanity. And finally, and this one I had bold-faced again, the board determines when we've attained AGI. Again, by AGI, we mean highly autonomous system that outperforms humans at most economically valuable work. Such a system is excluded from IP licenses and other commercial terms with Microsoft, which only apply to pre-AGI technology. So I'm going to linger on this one for a minute. If it is determined by the board, which consists of 6 people before Friday, it was Greg and Sam, Ilya, so the 3 co-founders, and then 3 independents. If that board determines that they have attained AGI, then the IP licenses to Microsoft and any other commercial terms are voided. They have no rights to AGI. They only have rights to pre-AGI technology. So in theory, if GPT-5 has been determined internally to be AGI, then Microsoft's licenses stop at GPT-4. That's what this means. We'll come back to that. Again, very important to understand. Okay, so now let's talk about Microsoft. In this June 28th, 2023 post, so again, I'm still on the same post, OpenAI explains it in this way. Shortly after announcing the OpenAI cap profit structure and our initial round of funding in 2019, we entered into a strategic partnership with Microsoft. We subsequently extended our partnership, expanding both Microsoft's total investment as well as the scale and breadth of our commercial and supercomputing collaborations. Now, I will stop here for a second and say, it is believed that Microsoft's investment is somewhere in the range of $13 billion, but a large portion of that investment is in computing time and resources. So it is not a cash infusion. So to train these models and to run these models costs a lot of money and requires a lot of computing resources. That is what Microsoft provides through Azure. So a lot of that $13 billion in commitment has not actually been awarded yet. And that becomes very important in understanding Microsoft's play in all this. So OpenAI remains, this is going back again to the June 28th article, OpenAI remains an entirely independent company governed by the OpenAI nonprofit. Microsoft has no board seat and no control. And as explained above, AGI is explicitly carved out of all commercial and IP licensing agreements. These arrangements exemplify why we chose Microsoft as our compute and commercial partner. From the beginning, they have accepted our cap equity offer and our request to leave AGI technologies and governance for the nonprofit and the rest of humanity. It then ends with saying this is what constitutes our board. So I mentioned you have Greg Brockman, it was the chairman of the board and was left out of being alerted that Sam was being fired. He was also the president and co-founder. Ilya Sutskever, who we've talked about, is the chief scientist, co-founder, board member. Sam Altman. And then the non-employees were Adam D'Angelo, Tasha McCauley, and Helen Tone, whose names you may hear more about in the near future. Okay. And then the final milestone from OpenAI that I'm going to talk about is about 2 weeks later. On July 5th of this year, July 5th, 2023, OpenAI published a blog post titled Introducing Super Alignment. Now, in this post, I'm going to go through a few key excerpts here. It says, we need scientific and technical breakthroughs to steer and control AI systems much smarter than us. To solve this problem within 4 years, is their goal, we're starting a new team co-led by Ilya Sutskever and Jan Leike, and dedicating 20% of the compute we've secured to date to this effort. We're looking for excellent ML researchers and engineers to join us. So Ilya Sutskever on June 5th of this year was put as the co-lead of a team within the organization that was solving for not just AGI, but beyond AGI, superintelligence. And they thought they could get there in this decade, that superintelligence would be achieved within this decade. So superintelligence, it goes on to say, will be the most impactful technology humanity has ever invented and could help us solve many of the world's most important problems. But the vast power of superintelligence could also be very dangerous and could lead to the disempowerment of humanity or even human extinction. So if you remember a few episodes back, we talked about this idea, the doomer side of this could be the end of all of us. So there is this belief within AI research community that this stuff can get out of control. While superintelligence seems far off now, we believe it could arrive this decade. Currently, we don't have a solution for steering or controlling a potentially superintelligent AI and preventing it from going rogue. Our current techniques for aligning AI, such as reinforcement from learning from human feedback, rely on humans' ability to supervise AI. But humans won't be able to reliably supervise AI systems much smarter than us. And so our current alignment techniques will not scale to superintelligence. We need new scientific and technical breakthroughs. They went on to say their approach, the goal is to build a roughly human-level automated alignment researcher. We can then use vast amounts of compute to scale our efforts and iteratively align superintelligence. So basically, the superalignment team is going to build a human level intelligence to align the superintelligence, if you're following along at home. The goal is to solve the core technical challenges of superintelligence alignment in 4 years. Ilya has made this his core research focus and will be co-leading the team with Jan Leike, the head of alignment. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that is the structure of the organization and some of the key players and some of the milestones at OpenAI, going back to the founding in 2015, to the charter, to the formation of the cap profit company, to the introduction of super alignment.